There's a really interesting quote from the sociologist Emil Durkheim. If you look into his work, he's a fascinating guy. And his theory of crime was that crime served utility. It had a social function, and it was to be an indicator of needs that were not being met. The example that he uses in the time in, I believe, 19th century France was that there was a lot of grave robbings. Okay, grave robbing was super common. There was, it was very, very lucrative as well. People would pay a lot for bodies, and you think, well, why is this happening? What one response would be, oh my God, we just need to crack down on these people. We need to, throw them in jail, and that's going to solve the problem. But you also need to realize that it indicated something. And what it actually ended up indicating, if you look into it, is that there was a very high demand for medical research on deceased bodies. And the laws and the regulations were so stringent when it came to people donating their body to science to be looked into that many people just didn't do it because it was too difficult, or they didn't want to, or it was too taboo. So by laxing or easing the restrictions on the laws, it allowed for more people to be able to donate their bodies to science. The black market completely ceased, or mainly ceased, in this type of grave robbing, and then they had that social utility or social function met. Same thing is the case here when it comes to something like gun violence. Why is there so much crime? I think it's really interesting to consider something with crime. I don't want to go on too much of a tangent. The most shoplifted good, this was a statistic, for some stuff, it's like what radicalized you, or the what like really stuck with you. The most shoplifted good in 2020 was baby formula. Not flat screen TVs, not Pepsis, not Mountain Dew bottles, not, sugary drinks and electronics. It was baby formula. It was people who needed to feed their children was the reason that they stole. So that's an indication that we are deeply, deeply flawed as a society, and we have needs that are not being met for a large percentage of our population. And gang violence is an indication that needs are not being met, that people don't have the tools to succeed, that families are being destroyed by things like mass incarceration and the war on drugs, and thus people turn to gang culture to create that sense of community and family when their own has been destroyed. So I think in that sense, I think that's a more holistic picture. Gun control and the conversation surrounding gun violence often gets so polarizing, and we like to have black and white solutions of, no, people need to be able to own a tank and own a nuke. And people on the left are like, no, we need to completely abolish, repeal, and ban every single gun. And obviously, like many things, I think the truth lies somewhere in between. Not on all issues. I'm not trying to say that on every single issue. The truth always lies in between. On this issue, however, I do think there's a bit more nuance to be had and a bit more context to include in the conversation so that it doesn't just turn into ban guns, don't ban guns, and we just keep butting heads. It's another wedge, culture war wedge issue that is designed to divide us instead of look at the root cause of violence, which is poverty, which is disenfranchisement, which is discrimination. And I think that's just important to keep in mind.